antimatter. When people dualize this, they give this a bad name and say, oh, this is opening a portal to something evil to come and stuff like that. And it's like, excuse me, but good versus evil, that's created by man. And anything that comes on top of that, that's all created by man. This is all illusion. It's not real. That whole concept is all created by man. And a lot of times you'll see pictures of, yeah, I took this picture after, oh, I took this picture of this car wreck and there's a big white thing there, and that's the guardian angel of the person who was in that car. They survived that wreck, and police said that they should have died, but yet that person survived. And look at this big white thing on the picture. That obviously, see, I like the way they choose their words. Yeah, that obviously is their guardian angel. Shoot. Well, where are the pictures at when the ones who are dead in the car crash, and there's a big blob there, big black blob there, and some people are saying that's the demon that killed that person. Where are those pictures? Shoot. People, even digital cameras have effects, have side effects. I know this because I know how to create the effect. I know how to do it with my smartphone camera. I've done it by accident, and that's how I learned how to do that, to create, where you see all these little circles in the air and stuff like that. This is not orbs. This is not spirits. This is a camera effect. For one thing, we all have a frequency. We all have a song. We feel different from second to second. So the sound is making a song. In our bodies, we have medicine wheels inside of our body. These are energy centers. And they all have a tone. They all have a certain tone. Sometimes we may be feeling weak in one area. Like right now, my left butt cheek is about ready to fall asleep because I've been sitting here for about 2.5 hours, and so that energy center is really flat. No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously. Concerning the other part, that we do have these 7 energy medicine wheels that are always spinning inside of us. And they deal with different parts of our bodies. And sometimes one is a little bit weaker, and so that tone it drops. Yeah, I mean it's not as bright. Sometimes it's stronger, so that tone is louder. Sometimes it comes to the surface more than the others, so you hear that one first or something like that. So this is always happening. It's always happening. With every breath, it's always happening. And so it's like a song. If you could hear these tones, what you're hearing is a song. This is your life song. We all have this. See, everything has this. Everything that's alive. Flowers have it. Animals have it. Our earth has it. They all have this song. We all have a song. So when we go through changes in our life, that song changes too. Now, sometimes people change, but it's for the worse. But they don't realize it. They think that they're getting better, but they're not. So sometimes people change for the worse, and it doesn't matter if you change for the better or for the worse, your song changes too. It's going to be weaker, it's going to be more dissonant, it's going to be unhealthy. And there are some people who can hear these things. And there's some animals that always hear these things. So that's why when they hear the difference in the song, their ears start moving around. They start scanning the area. Like for those of you that have horses, and you're a horse person, you know that, yeah? When your horse knows things, way before you do, because it hears it. It doesn't hear footsteps, it hears a certain sound, that a song. It notices that there's change in the song, so it starts looking around. This is how that is. So sometimes there are things that vibrate differently. So we don't hear it and we don't see it, but it's there. Now I want to correct a thinking right away, because some people, you might think you know where I'm going with this, but I want to make sure you are, okay? There's an incorrect perception of this, and I'll give you an example. There are these quantum physicists who believe that when the European explorers first came to Central and South America, that when they were landing, when their ships were in the area, that the Indians didn't see it. They didn't see it until they saw these small boats with these white men coming up to the shoreline. They didn't see the ships. That is bullshit. I'll tell you right now, if there is a spaceship that's going to land outside here, I'm going to see that damn thing. If it's big, I'm going to see it. There's some people think that you can only see what your brain is acquainted with. This is bullshit. Because that would mean when you're a baby and all you see is certain things, well, technically that's all you should ever see your whole life. But that's not true. The older you get, you see a car. You're sitting inside a car. You see the car. You get on top of the car. You play on the car. You see all these things. Next thing you know, you get a little bit older, and maybe you have to fly someplace. So you go to the airport and you see a jet. You've never seen a jet in the reservation, but when you go to the airport, there it is. You see a jet. Even if you don't have TV at home and you go to the airport for the first time, you're going to see that jet. So what makes you think that a giant spaceship comes and lands in your neighborhood, that just because your brain never seen anything like that before, that you're not going to see it? Horseshit. That's total nonsense thinking. That is total nonsense thinking. That is so bullshit, is ridiculous. And the other thing is, you have to talk to the Indians themselves. The Indians on the East Coast, their stories were passed down through tradition, oral tradition. They saw the ships, and they got worried because they never saw those kind of boats before. That says they saw them. So I don't believe this quantum physics theory that says that, just because something is not, registered in your visual vocabulary, that you're not going to see it. That is total bullshit. I do not believe that. If that were true, our whole Lakota star knowledge would not exist. You see what I mean? So it is here. The knowledge does exist. So I don't believe that kind of nonsense. That's bullshit. When our star knowledge talks about the way the Earth used to be, when it talks about the time it was on one continent, and it talks about how people traveled through the air and through the ground at great speeds to reach great distances, and when it talks about trapping these giant beasts in several parts of this continent and discovering a technology to exterminate all of them, and that the law then said people are not supposed to live in those places where these monsters were destroyed, because the energy that's there is really unhealthy, and it's strong, unhealthy energy. So people were instructed not to live in those areas. And if you live in those areas, your whole culture is going to be affected by that energy. And you're going to develop very extreme measures and beliefs. That's what these star knowledge stories say. So it describes these giants. It talks about how big they are, what color they were, what they smelled like, and that they were destroyed by humans, not a comet or a meteorite. That they were destroyed in certain locations around the world. And as a result, in those locations are huge deposits of, guess what? You should know that answer. Now look at the people who live in those areas and look at what they're developing into. It's fulfilling what this Lakota star knowledge was saying about that. So you can't tell me that a ship appearing in front of Indians that never seen a ship before, that they didn't see the ship. Bullshit. That is institutionalized racism. It's saying that Indians are stupid, that we don't have those capacities to do that. That's limiting us. They didn't see the ships until they were taken aboard the ships. That's what they say. Bullshit. Bullshit. That's a theory that was created by man. Institutionalized racism. That's not the direction I'm going. Okay? No, I'm going a different direction. When I say there are things that are in front of us all the time, but they're on different frequencies. So we can't register them. We cannot see them because they vibrate differently, but they are there. This is something we've known since the beginning. This Lakota star knowledge talks about this. Imagine you are standing on a street or on a road, paved road, and there's a ladybug walking around down there. And it's heading directly for the highway. And you're trying to tell that ladybug, hey, there's a bunch of cars coming through there. But the ladybug doesn't see it because it's still a distance away. But you can see it. But from the ladybug's perspective, they can't see it because it's too damn far for them. But you can see it. You see the traffic. You see it right in front of you. It's going both directions, and that ladybug is heading right for it. So how do you tell that ladybug? What if you're such that you're unable to touch it, to lift it up, and to carry it to safety? What if you don't have that ability? But you see where it's going. And you're hollering, hey, don't go that way. You're going to get run over. And you're following it, you're hollering, you're trying to, but how is it supposed to understand your language when you're a human and it's a bug? How do you try to help it? That's what these things are. We are like the ladybug, and we are heading down certain paths in our lives, and these things can see where we're going. And they know when we're heading for trouble, or they know when trouble is up ahead. So they're going to try to warn you. And that may come in the form of a nightmare. It may come in as an inspiration. So you have to be open to that. So those things are what I'm talking about. That they know what's going to happen before you do, not because they can see the future. That's not it at all. It's that they can see the direction of your path, and they see what's up there. We don't have that capacity, but they do. So they will come to you to help you. The mistake is when we go to them and say, can you put that Can you put a treasure chest in my path? That will not work because of the intention. The intention is selfishness. The intention is oppression. The intention is to have gain over and above others. That violates natural law because that leads to duality. These beings are not dualistic. They're a part of nature. Nature is not dualistic. So you can't say, you can try, and it's not going to work. It's going to backfire. Because what you're doing is an unhealthy communication. And that's going to return to you 4 times as strong. It's not going to bother them at all. They're not even going to do anything. But what you're going to do is mess up yourself. They are a part of nature. And nature is not dualistic. So when you try to conjure them and say, do this for me, do that for me, it's not going to work. Because they don't register that. They know what duality is. So that it's not something they're going to register because, again, they are a part of nature, and nature is not dualistic. Nature cannot be manipulated. And even if you try, it's going to balance itself out. And that usually means destruction for those who caused the imbalance in the first place. Because what they develop violates the balance of nature, so that for nature to be returned to balance, whatever is the violation is going to be cleansed away. Our stories tell us that. Our star knowledge stories talk about those things. The most recent cleansing, it talks about that in great detail. That's exactly what happened. What I'm saying is that these things, these are not things you can see. These are not ghosts. They are not spirits of dead people who lived before. Not even. Spirits are something different. That is a different concept that has no shape, no form. It's an energy, has no memory, it has no emotions, it has no voice. Memory, emotions, voice all belong to the human body, physical body. And that stays with the physical body when somebody dies. No, these things are here. They're alive. And there are some individuals that can communicate with them. It doesn't mean they're better. It just means they have the ability. That's why when you talk to them, they will tell you you don't want to see them because you will have a heart attack if you see them. Your mind is not going to be able to comprehend that, and you're going to go into shock. You're going to lock yourself into a closet and put Bible verses and Bible pages all over the wall. You're going to be burning candles all day long, all through the night. You're not going to want to go to sleep, and because you're going to think it's evil because of your dualistic programming. That happens in a dualistic world. So that's why it's really important to know what duality is. So you know how to transform it. Yeah? You know how to make it work. You know how to complete it in some cases so that it's not dualistic anymore. Or you just let it go. The only way to know which one of those situations it is you have to check it out. If you have never experienced it before, I mean. Because sometimes you will experience similar things again, and you already know, so you don't have to take the time to check it out. You already know what it's like. So these are not guardian angels. They are not something you can get. They don't belong to anybody. You cannot own these things. Because a lot of people, They think that, okay, I'm going to get one of these things. It's going to be my protector. It's going to be my spirit guide. It's going to be my totem. And I'm going to put it in this medicine bag and wear it around my neck. And all my good luck dream symbols, I'm going to put them all in there. And that's going to be my protective force. No, it's not. Because you cannot subdue these things. To even want that is dualistic. Because you're saying you're more protected than others, and that others are vulnerable and you are not. That's just another way of saying I'm right and you're wrong. That is duality. A lot of people think that medicine bags were designed to protect the person wearing it. Actually, no. They're designed so that the person that has that bag will have the energy to use to help others. That's the purpose. That's selflessness. That's part of a community way of thinking. That's mitako oasi. But as soon as you say, I'm making this bag of charms so that nobody can harm me, that's where you're going down a dualistic road. That is not healthy to think like that. Because you're separating yourself from the global community of your fellow brothers and sisters who are all grandchildren of our grandmother Earth. You don't need Lucky Charms unless you're really hungry. And there's nothing else. I'm talking about the cereal. No, all you need is you. You are a blessing. You are sacred. Because there's something, actually there's several things inside of you that are very sacred. This is beautiful. You don't need protection. My gosh, you have these sacred things already. They help you to live. These are your gifts. To better use them, we should live in a healthy way, thinking more like a global community. To try to not focus everything on skin color. I mean, there are going to be people who do, and we have to know how to deal with them. There are going to be people who are going to treat you like shit because of your skin color. You cannot let that bring you down. You have to rise above that because they just can't comprehend the healthy way of living. So you have to know how to deal with that too. And you will. Sometimes, thinking about these other beings, sometimes when something nice happens out of the blue, you can just say, thanks, man. You never know. It might have been influenced by that. Or maybe it just happened. Because that's what happens too. Yeah, sometimes just out of the blue things happen that are nice, and also not so nice. And sometimes we get cancer. We eat healthy, we run, we exercise, we develop emotionally, we develop spiritually. We're living really, really healthy lives, and out of the blue, we get a cancer. Some people try to take the easy way out by saying, "Oh, this is part of God's plan. God knows, what I need, and this is just part of the plan for me to get to point A to the next point." That's the easy way to think about it. The fact is, that's not reality. That's not realistic. Sometimes cancer just happens. I'm going to put it blunt. Sometimes it just happens. And that's hard. We have to go through every emotion. And we have to express those. Why me? What the hell did I do? We got to get all that energy out by expressing it. And eventually we have to come to peace in our hearts and in our minds, both places. As hard as it sounds, we learn to live with it. But those people who've been there know exactly what I'm saying. You can. You make it work for you. That gets difficult too, but it's still possible. And sometimes you have to go through treatments or whatever. You do what you have to do, but you keep yourself healthy at the same time as best as you can, and enjoy each moment as it's happening. So others will learn from that too. You're teaching them to enjoy each moment as it happens. That's going to come back to you and bless you because you're teaching. That's all we can do. But that's a lot. It's huge. And that no matter what reality we think we see, we always have to have hope. To the last breath, have hope. Because that energy is going to bless you no matter what. Even at the last breath, that energy will bless you. And it's going to make a difference. Because remember, we can't see everything. So as long as we follow these concepts, that's affecting what we cannot see. That's affecting that in a healthy way. So it's affecting you. It's affecting everything around you. And everything around you includes that which we cannot see. That's beautiful. Because it puts the flow to return to you 4 times as strong. That's beautiful. So it's not about, okay, how should we conjure these spirits so we can win the next big poker tournament? It's not about that. Let's conjure these spirits so we can get a potion to make all the pretty girls fall in love with us. No, that's not going to work either. Like I said, the number one thing is you're a blessing. You are sacred. There's several things inside of you that are keeping you sacred. And so this should be motivation enough to live in a healthy way. Because when you do that, all kinds of things are going to be affected. And that's going to bounce around and return to you 4 times as strong. And it's going to affect the unseen in a healthy way too. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful concept. That comes from Lakota star knowledge. That comes from them, the ancients. This is not something we should get overly worried about. When you hear stories of these religious fanatics and they say, "Oh, we gotta do this because it's gonna unleash angel demons and all this," and that's all coming from duality, that way of talking. No matter how powerful they're talking, that's all an illusion. And when you choose to be dualistic, it'll destroy you. It'll erode your sanity. The older you get, the less of reality you will see and perceive and comprehend. And that's a waste. You've been given something sacred and you're trying very hard to destroy it. So, it's how you live your life. How you live your life, how you communicate, how you receive communication, how you learn from your difficulties, how you enjoy your blessings. This all adds up. And it affects the unseen. If you do it healthy, it affects the unseen in a healthy way. If you neglect things, it affects the unseen in the same way. Anything that has a dualistic concept or a foundation is violation of nature. That's just a fact. That is natural law. So it behooves us. See, I finally could use that word. I've been waiting to use that word for a real long time. I should say it like this. I think it's only beneficial when we choose to live a healthy life and just enjoy it as it happens. living in the present moment, yeah? Visualizing the future at certain times of the day, and making sure we're at peace with our past, and but always returning to the present moment and learning from the past too. We can always do that by going back to a memory that we're at peace with and looking at it again, because we develop through time, we change through time, and if we're progressing, then we can look at a past event and learn something new because we're different now, and we might see things we didn't see before. So we learn something new, but we return to the present. It's always the most important thing. Yeah, living in the present moment, because this is how you influence the future. This is where you have power over the future. Having hope is also how you have power over the future.